That's Egyptian cleric Yusuf al-Qaradawi calling for the liberation of Israel in Tahrir Square earlier this month. Qaradawi is the spiritual father of a group called the Muslim Brotherhood. They're based in Egypt, and it's his first speech there, in fact, in more than 30 years. Paul Marshall is joining us from the Hudson Institute. Gary Lane is in Cairo, Egypt, and here on the set of CBN News is Shahrir Gill, a Pakistani lawyer. Great to have you guys all. Let me go to Gary real quickly. Gary, you've had a chance. You just arrived on the streets of Cairo. You've had a chance to talk to Christians in Cairo. Give us a sense, a month after this revolution, how are they feeling? What's the pulse?
They are very happy right now, George. They were very pleased today, jubilant. They had a celebration in Tahrir Square as their new prime minister was carried and hoisted on the shoulders of some of the celebrants there. His name is Sharaf, and he's a former transportation secretary or minister, and they're very pleased that he is now the prime minister, that the other man stepped down, and they're looking forward to him carrying out his promises. And his promises are to do what they want, and he's a man that is well loved by them. He may even run for president. Some people would like to see that. But I would say there is also concern here from the Christians I talked to about the future. They're happy that Mubarak is not here any longer. They're a little concerned about the Muslim Brotherhood and other extremists here in Egypt. They don't think they have broad support, but they want to wait and see what happens. And they say if they come to power or have any influence in a new government, it may be bad news for them.
Paul Marshall, to you, sir, this new prime minister who was elected, who was chosen in Egypt, is actually a graduate of Purdue University. The Muslim Brotherhood and the issue and of their influence in Egypt, you followed them, you know about the plight of Christians in Egypt. Are you concerned about the role that they may play in any future government, perhaps any future election in Egypt?
Yeah, I am concerned about the Brotherhood. So far in Egypt, things are hopeful. It's still a military government, but they've made the right steps, including appointing the prime minister, who had resigned earlier from the government a couple of years ago as a protest against corruption. So he seems to be an honorable and good man, and he could be the person around whom people rally. I think that's very hopeful. But the opposition group at the moment, which is organized, is the Muslim Brotherhood. And while in recent months they've tried to shade their views, look more moderate, they want an Islamic State. And that would make the situation for the Christians in Egypt worse than it has been. So I'm very worried about that.
And Shahrir, to Paul's point about the concern of becoming an Islamic State, is that what concerns you from a lawyer perspective, that perhaps this entire process gets hijacked by this group that obviously has very good organization skills in Egypt for many years? Is that what concerns you?
Yes, George. I think it's very important. It's a crucial concern for every one of us that radical groups take control of a country. And it's important to understand, because in the past that's what the radical groups have done. Look at revolution in Iran. Look at at Pakistan, a Muslim government that was a radical, a president who was radical. He started blasphemy laws. He started Sharia laws there, and it's a grave concern for us especially the Christians living in Egypt, to have a Muslim government governed by Muslim Brotherhood. Just look at their bylaws. Muslim Brotherhood's bylaws. In fact, they took it off of their website, and the Brotherhood's bylaws basically say that their goal is to institute an Islamic government, Islamic caliphate. And that's their goal, to universalize Islam, to apply Allah's law to every part of the world. That's their goal.
And on that very, very serious concern to you, Gary Lane, just the last few seconds that we have remaining, are you hopeful? You've covered the Middle East for a very long time. Are you hopeful? Are you concerned about what you see playing out today, not just in Egypt, Tunisia, perhaps even Saudi Arabia, Yemen, the list goes on. Your thoughts, final thoughts.
There is concern about potential here, but I think I'm very hopeful. I'm hopeful for the young people here. I know the young people in Egypt. They're wonderful people, and they really would like to see freedom of speech, freedom of religion, more economic freedom and opportunity here. I believe in them, and I think if their voice is heard and they're strong in this, then they'll have victory in the end.
Okay, Gary Lane, our senior international correspondent, calling us via Skype from Cairo, Egypt. Paul Marshall, who is of the Hudson Institute in Washington, D.C. Great to have you on the show. And here's Sayer Gill from the American Center for Law and Justice. Gentlemen, thank you all for joining us on the broadcast. We have much more news from the global church, including the